Hello everyone, it's Dr. Rafael Gutierrez. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm actually going to talk about another medication that looks like it might be on the chopping block soon. This is a medication that's used to treat Cushing syndrome, which is overproduction of cortisol, and it also can be used to treat endometriosis and uterine cysts, uterine fibroids. And one of the things that ends up happening is because this medication is used for other things as well, people jump to it's controversial, we need to get rid of it. And they don't look at the facts. The facts is many medications may actually come out for something, but they can be used to treat millions of other things. And the truth is, it's not about someone deciding whether something should be legal or illegal when you're dealing with medication. What we're actually looking at is a medication safe or not. If the FDA has decided it is safe based on the numbers they've come out with, and it's been around for 20 years and nobody sued the company that makes it, and nobody's actually done anything legal because they've had a horrible reaction to this medication outside what is considered normal, then how is it a judge can actually decide, you know what? Here's a medication that millions of people need. I'm just going to take it off the market because it can also be used for something that might be controversial. So if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, last night there was a Supreme Court decision where it actually it pretty much made it so methotrexate would not go off the market. Now I want you to think about this. Imagine you're on a medication that may be used for something you disagree with, but you're using that medication because it's one of the few things that helps you. And because it might be used for something you may disagree with, it's pulled off the market. You no longer have access to a medication that is actually making it so you can have a normal life. That's what the Supreme Court is actually doing. Now, I can understand if your average person walking down the street said, well, you know, I don't believe in this, so I think it should be banned. But then I actually have something that I always drink out of, which is my cup that says, please do not confuse your Google search with my medical degree. And that's one of the big things that is happening. You know, these judges, these people are not even going and doing a basic Google search. I mean, this is beyond not having education. This is not even wanting to know about what these medications are actually used for before deciding, hey, I'm going to try to ban everything. And it's even worse when a judge does this because you can say the average person, besides not understanding stuff and getting their news from friends or I heard of something, the job of a judge is to actually look at numbers, look at data, and look at what else is being brought up to them. The FDA does their own research. They actually take the research that's out before the drugs are released. Then you have 20 years of data that's showing that this is safe. Actually, some things are saying that it's safer than Tylenol, something that's sold over the counter. And so we have all this data for a judge to now say, well, I just don't believe that because I don't want to believe it. It's not kind of dangerous, it's extremely dangerous. Again, remember, this medication can be used for Cushing syndrome and a lot of other things. And when you have a judge deciding to ignore reality and just go based on, I'm going to make a big name for myself by making something illegal because for a lot of people, one of the things that this medication can be used for is controversial. That's bad. Now, and you think about this, judges have clerks, they have assistants, they have interns. It wouldn't take them but 3 seconds to go on the internet, Google, what are the things that this medication is used for, and what are the outcomes of it? But instead of doing that, some of these judges are, let me make a name for myself. I'm going to be a culture warrior and make this illegal. And all these people who actually are needing this medication. Now, I'm not going to go into the controversial aspect. I'm going to go into just people who need this medication for stuff that nobody should have an issue with them using. If someone has Cushing syndrome, there's no reason why someone should be like, well, they shouldn't be able to get that medication. I don't, that's not even something that you can actually say is ethical or not. It's unethical to keep them away from it. If someone's actually using this medication for uterine fibroids, again, it doesn't matter. If someone actually is using it for endometriosis, again, it's not something that should be even investigated. As this medication is used for multiple things, to take it off the market is highly irresponsible from anyone. And right now we have two Supreme Court justices who, instead of looking at data, instead of actually looking at what things are actually done, they vote against it like a knee-jerk reflex. They didn't look at this. They just say, well, it's used for X, and I disagree with X, so nobody should have it. It doesn't matter if it's safe, and it doesn't matter if millions of other people are using it for other things. We're going to remove this medication. Like I said, whenever something's controversial, whatever you believe, that's between you and whatever. But when something is used for other things, you have to actually look at that. For those of you who don't know, the medication that I'm actually talking about is methotrexate. It is a medication that can be used as a birth control post-coitus type of birth control. But it also has a lot of other uses. And when someone removes a medication that's safe from one group of people, it's not just that group of people. You have thousands of millions, actually, of other people who are using that medication. And it's a medication that works for these people. And by just removing it without looking at it is unethical. And I don't even understand how that could be legal. I usually don't talk too much about political things because it really doesn't match what I'm actually looking at. Usually I like to do injuries in the human body. But one of the things I see is everyone focuses on this is an abortion medication, and that almost as if that's the only thing it's used for. But if you remove this abortion medication, you're actually affecting all the people who use that medication for every other condition. And if it's safe, there's no reason why it should have actually even been considered to be removed. And this is happening more and more. We have people who don't have medical knowledge making medical decisions and making these decisions based on their view of what is ethical and what isn't. I'm not going to try to tell you what's ethical and what's not. That's not what I'm actually going to try to do. What I'm going to tell you is what things are. When I actually talk about certain things that I come across on the news, should certain things be illegal? Yes, because they don't work necessarily, or they work in a way where someone's life is put in danger. When a medication is taken off, it puts a lot of people's lives at risk. On top of that, there's another level to this. If a judge can decide that his ethics will make him ignore every aspect of numbers, of science, just because he doesn't like something about the medication, he's going to remove it. It puts us in a really bad spot. I want you to think about how medications come out. I want you to think of if you had someone in your family who has cancer, if you've had someone who had a autoimmune disease, if you had someone who had a birth defect. There's a lot of medications that could be made. Any genetic disease can actually end up having medications that fix that. But if pharmaceutical companies think that their medication can be removed because some judge decides that, hey, you know what, I don't like the ethics of this medication because I disagree with one policy, a lot of these pharmaceutical companies are going to stop doing research. It's not going to be economically viable for them to do this, which means we are not going to get new medications. I'm going to say this. One of the big problems that I think we're having is for the last, I'd say, probably about 14 years, 12 years at least, we've had an attack on people understanding science. Instead of actually looking at science and the facts, people have actually been deciding, well, I don't believe in that I'm going to say that I'm my own expert and that I'm going to go completely against what people who have actually studied this for at least 8 years are telling me, and I'm going to make my own decisions which is fine if it's yours. But when it's actually affecting someone else's life, you actually should be able to take a step back and say, hey, look, at this point, we need to look at the experts. What's a consensus of the experts saying? And yes, there are expert consensuses. If you actually if you're looking at health, for instance, you go to the AMA. What are they telling you? Or the if not the American Medical Association, the American Nursing Association, the American Hospital Association, or I can't remember what it's called, the American Administrators of Hospital or something. And so you can actually see a consensus. If 90% of them are saying one thing and 10 is saying something else, usually you want to go with the 90%. Could it be the 10% are these brilliant people? It could be, but usually when you have that big of a consensus of experts, you know where it's at. Now, like I said, we've actually been having this assault on science. And what we have been seeing with this assault on science is we've actually been seeing a decrease in life expectancy in the US. We've actually lost 2 years in the of life expectancy in the last, 4 years? And so one of the things that actually is happening is we're seeing the effects of us ignoring medical professionals and scientists. And it's something that really you have to actually start asking yourself. Should you believe some politician or some judge who has absolutely no medical expertise whatsoever, or should we demand that our judges use medical science when they're actually making their decisions? I hope you enjoyed this and have a nice day.